Welcome to the first night of the 19th Annual Spring Literary Festival. We're here tonight with the writer Mesha Maren, and so in a little bit, we're going to hear from her. We're going to play some games. We're going to ask her some questions. But before we start, a few quick announcements. One is, if you're watching us tonight on our webpage, if you click through to YouTube, there's a live chat, and you can join in the conversation there. If you post questions, we'll bring them to Mesha at the end of tonight's event. And ask her some of your questions. The other thing is, if we were in person as we intended to be, we would go outside of the theater tonight and buy books from our great independent bookstore, City Lights, here in Silva, but we're not. So there's a link on YouTube just below our video where you can click to Mesha's book and buy it from City Lights tonight. And lastly, at the end of the night, you'll see a link on the screen to a survey. It's also below us on YouTube, and if you get a chance to fill out that survey, it's very quick. It'll help us plan for future festivals and also give some information that our granting agencies need. My name, I should have said earlier, is Jeremy Jones, and I'm the director of the Spring Literary Festival. And I want to introduce you to Mesha Maren and also to thank a few sponsors. The Spring Literary Festival receives support from the North Carolina Arts Council, a division of the North Carolina Department of Cultural Resources. And it's funded in part by a grant from South Arts in partnership with the National Endowment for the Arts. This project is also made possible by funding from the North Carolina Humanities Council, a statewide nonprofit and affiliate of the National Endowment for the Humanities. And finally, the festival relies on support from the 2020-21 WCU campus theme, Water, the Office of the Provost, the College of Arts and Sciences, and the English department. And tonight, in particular, is sponsored by our very own Ron Rash. Mesha Maren is the author of the novel Sugar Run. Her short stories and essays can be read in Tin House, The Oxford American, The Guardian, Crazy Horse, Tri-Quarterly, The Southern Review, and many more. She was the recipient of the 2015 Thomas Wolfe Fiction Prize and was the 2018-2019 Keenan Visiting Writer at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. She is an assistant professor of the practice of creative writing at Duke University and also serves as a National Endowment of the Arts Writing Fellow at the Federal Prison Camp in Alderson, West Virginia. Please welcome Mesha Maren.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. Thanks for that lovely introduction and for having me even virtually. It's really exciting. I've noticed the amazing lineups that you've had for this festival for years, and it's a really big honor to be among the writers this year. I'm going to read a little bit from Sugar Run. I thought tonight, it being April, made me think about how main character Jody in my novel was born in April, and there's a section in the book that takes place on her birthday. So I thought I'd read a little bit of that. And I also, like, the book is set mostly in 2007, with then a significant number of chapters that jump back to 1988 and 89 before Jody went to prison. And those sections, even though they chronologically don't come first in the book, were the first parts of the book that came to me when I first started hanging out with Jody as a character in my mind. She appeared to me in a hotel room with her girlfriend, Paula, and that was the part that came to me first. So I'm going to read just a tiny bit from January 1989. Hang on just one moment. Actually, I have to do something. I have my lovely parents in the other room and they're listening, but they have the volume turned up and I'm like hearing myself like triple time here. So if you just give me 1 second, I'll be right back.
This is the part where I should be playing some instrumental music to keep everyone entertained. Just a reminder, click down below on YouTube, buy Mesha's book, click through to the survey.
Okay, I think I caught up with myself perfectly, actually, when the me that was going on in the other room stopped. I started back here. So This first little section is set in January of 1989, and then we're going to go to April, to Jodi's birthday. And Jodi and her girlfriend Paula are in Mexico at this point in the book. And there's a reference to Effie, and that's Jodi's grandmother. The morning's a thudding red sun in Jodi's face, a heat that matches the fierceness of her headache. Paula stands over the bed, bending close and tucking a wisp of hair behind her ear. "Wake up, princess," she says. The room they rented is as small as a closet, just one twin bed with faded Donald Duck sheets. Through the open window, Jodi hears the cloop, cloop of chickens in the dusty yard, the dip and rise of Mexican radio voices. "Ahora en Radio 889. Come on," Paula pulls her up. "I've got a surprise for you." The taxi takes them past the downtown market, women in plastic sandals arranging piles of green bananas beside displays of electric alarm clocks and bottles of oily parasite cures. They drive around a man on a bicycle with a bundle of firewood piled so high it hides his body, and then out past the resort hotels and beach condos to where the buildings taper off into thatched shacks and concrete bunkers. Jodi wants to stop for coffee, a bottle of water, but Paula says they have to hurry. She leans forward, staring over the driver's shoulder until finally they turn off onto a sandy road that leads to a tin shed with two tiny propeller planes. Jodi eyes the planes, glances at Paula, then back to the planes. There is absolutely nothing else around. Paula smiles and pulls her close. "I want to see your first time flying face." The propellers are so vibrational, Jodi thinks their rhythm will never leave her body. She is squished in the tiny cockpit, sitting on Paula's lap, waiting to die. Paula has to keep reminding her to open her eyes. The land glides below them. She is surprised at how slowly they seem to be moving. The concrete landing strip is still visible, flanked by trees, and the dog has come out from the tin shed to trail after them, his head lifted, barking. Jodi hears the wind snatch at the banner that is right now wafting behind them, an advertisement for a new hotel at some place called Isla Holbox. The tops of the trees are deep tangled green, and among them Jodi spots a row of bungalows half collapsed back into the earth, with the yards still sprinkled with plastic chairs and umbrellas. If she squints her eyes, she can imagine a mother out back hanging sheets on the line. It's nothing more than junk, really, but somehow its placement there makes the land dearer, some stranger's intimate past displayed so openly. As a child on the mountain, she would come across rusted tin buckets and chimney stones, or a head of a baby doll, the plastic cracked and thin as an eggshell. Effie had shrugged it off as trash, but Jodi turned around each time they passed to see the lonely way these objects looked among the winter trees. "See," Paula says, whispering into Jodi's ear and pointing out to where the ocean begins, clear and heavenly, like a wrinkled extension of the sky. "I knew you'd love flying." And then they are over it, water expanding below them, and though there is air everywhere, Jodi cannot get enough of it into her lungs. It is stupendous, this vast blueness. She needs other words for it, something more than just aquamarine, turquoise, navy. None of these names catch the heart-wild magic of it. "Thank you," she says, laughing and gripping Paula's leg. What luck, she thinks. What staggering luck to have found someone who wants to give her this. And then we're going to jump ahead to April of 1989. "No, I know you can do it. Really, it's simple, just about timing," Paula says. "The guy goes to take a piss, you drive up to the door, come in with a gun, grab the money, and we're gone." They are sitting across from each other on the narrow bed at the hospedaje familiar, where Paula rolls a joint and explains her plan. She's been playing poker with the same group of men in the back room behind a butcher shop in Tampico for 2 weeks now, and the plan has come into shape slowly. There is a man who guards the door, she says, checks them all for weapons, and won't let anyone in or out after the game starts. But once each night, he leaves his post to step into the bathroom. The bathroom is right beside the poker playing room, but its door is on the outside of the building, facing the street. All Jodi has to do, Paula explains, is wait until he is inside and then drive the cutlass up to block the door. He won't be able to do a thing until they have the money and are driving away. But I don't know hardly any Spanish, Jody says, taking the lit joint that Paula passes to her. Doesn't matter. The only word you need is dinero, and probably not even that. It'll be obvious. Jody gets up from the bed and rummages around inside their duffel bag until she finds her purse with a .38. She stands and faces the mirror, stretches her right arm out straight, and holds the pistol steady as she walks slowly toward her reflection. God, you look sexy like that, Paula says, smoke coiling out the corners of her mouth. They practice that evening in a sandy, abandoned lot out past the municipal dump. As the sky melts from orange to coral to gray, and the bats come out, flitting and dropping spastically, Paula stands with her back to the dunes and smokes, watching Jody rev the Cutlass's engine and slam on the brakes, leap out and run, pistol held tense and high, nylon pantyhose pulled down over her face. The night is hotter than usual, or maybe not, Jody thinks. Maybe it's just her nerves. She tried for the past 24 hours to decide if she should do up before this, and finally she realized she could not possibly accomplish it sober. Now, though, she is not sure the speed was such a good idea. Instead of the usual rush of super-sexed power and holiness, it is just making her feel itchy and paranoid. Paula has been inside the back of the butcher shop for over an hour now, and all Jody has to do is wait. She has a clear view up the street to the gray door of the shop and the pastel green door beside it that is the bathroom. Maybe the guy has changed his routine, though. Maybe he took a piss before the game started, and now he won't have to go all night. She lights a cigarette and tries to concentrate. There's a smell of frying meat coming from one of the apartments on the street, and the scent makes her stomach bunch up like a fist. If she leaves the car windows down, mosquitoes land all along her arms. But if she rolls the windows up, it is too hot to breathe. She blows out her cigarette smoke, directing it toward her arms, and the insects lift up momentarily. A song comes on in the house across the street, something fast and jumpy with lots of accordion. Jody finds that her feet and hips are bouncing along with the rhythm. She thinks this is a good thing. See, she says, I'm not nervous. The door swings open. Her heart drops straight down into her lap. She remembers to crank the car and press the gas. She cannot remember to breathe, but she steers the car up the street, bucking over the sidewalk and roaring into the green door. She is out, pantyhose pulled down over her face, blood pulsing loud in her ears, pistol steady. There's only 5 steps to the door, but they have heard the car and already on their feet when she enters. The room is patchy, everything blurred by the hose on her face, just the dodgy spots of light and dark and her own voice spiking, panicky. The men move back, a chair topples. Their hands go to their belted waists instinctively, though they have no weapons there. Only Paula is still sitting, looking back and forth from the men to Jody. Jody is suspended, watching the men's attention fixated on the pistol in her hand. It thrills her, this moment of pure concentration. She feels their energy pulled toward her, and though this was not part of the plan, she thinks now that they should see her shoot it. None of them have gotten out any money, and she's not sure how to go from this moment to the next. She turns the pistol up to the ceiling and pulls the trigger. The sound breaks open and pours down on them, and the men are all movement now, hands flying to pockets and billfolds. Jody can hardly breathe inside the pantyhose, but this is it. It is all happening. She grabs the bills from their shaky hands and stuffs them into her bag. She looks toward the door, and Paula rises beside her. They are moving together now. Jody looks back just once, and this is when she sees first the chair and then the man lifting it up over his head, lunging toward her. She spins, tumbling against Paula, and holds the pistol out. Stop, she says, not sure if she's saying it to the man or herself, but already her finger has squeezed the trigger and the man falls backward. The chair and the man land and break apart, the chair hitting a wall and the man rolling, curling in on himself. His shoulder is dark with blood, and the blood is moving, spreading out quickly across the concrete. Jody stumbles and is jerked back. Paula's arms are around her, and she is moving, turning. Paula is pushing her. Run, run, run. They drive for 8 hours straight. Paula at the wheel and Jody staring out the window, watching shadow shapes. When Paula tells her to, she counts the money and finds it to be several $100s less than they had expected. She cannot stop seeing the pool of blood. Do you think? It was only his shoulder, Paula says, without taking her eyes off the road. He'll be fine. They cross the border at Matamoros just before the sun rises. The lamps at the guard hut spill thin green light into the dusky air. The guard tells Jody to get out of the car. She hands him her passport and standing there, trying to calm her pulse, listening to the bug zapper on the corner of the building. The guard looks from the passport to Jody. She stops breathing. He looks back to the passport and then to his watch. Happy birthday, he says.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah.
Are you a writer who reads her work while you're writing or in revision aloud?
I do, yeah. I actually typically begin, if I'm in the middle of a long project, I begin each new writing day by reading aloud whatever amount I managed to put on the page the day before.
Yeah.
And then many more times in revision, but yeah.
Yeah, it was just striking, like how different the pace was, between the two pieces, but like just hearing it was really like that propulsion, in that second moment.
Yeah, I worked with that a lot to try to have like the, to get that movement in there, and so you could feel it and still understand like what was happening as it moved quickly. Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk more about your work in a little bit with a few students, but before we do that, we wanted to play some games. And so I have two of them, and we'll see if we have time for both. The first game is called Two Truths and a Lie, Golden Horseshoe Edition. Because I learned that in West Virginia, there is a sort of trivia competition in your 8th grade year. Is this right? Called the Golden Horseshoe?
There is, yes. Yeah.
Were you a Golden Horseshoe Award winner? Isn't there?
I was not. No, I was not. I think that by that point, I won some social studies award when I was younger, but by that point I was not as academically oriented, maybe we might say.
Well, I have a surprise special guest who's going to be able to help you here. So I'm going to bring in your phone a friend for this game that we're calling Two Truths and a Lie, Golden Horseshoe Edition. So the writer Jesse Van Eerden is here.
Hi, Mesha. Jesse. Hi. Oh my gosh.
So
how fun.
Say that Jesse is also from West Virginia, and her novel, Call It Horses, right? Did I get the title right, Jesse? Is just out like a month ago and getting rave reviews. So here's how we'll play. You probably know the Two Truths and a Lie game. So I'm going to read 3 things about West Virginia, and you have to tell us, you can work together and tell us which one is the lie.
Golden Horseshoe winner either, Mesha.
Okay. Well, that makes me feel a little better.
No problem.
Okay, so
with your powers combined, you will be a Golden Horseshoe. I can feel it.
Right. So I try to point out which ones are true. I try to find the lie. Basically.
Try to find the lie.
And I can call on Jesse.
Yeah, you two.
Or we can just work together.
It out.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Work towards consensus. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, number 1. There is a city called Odd. There is a city called Pee Wee. And there is a city called Jumping Tree.
Ooh.
Whoa.
I think Jumping Tree is true. I think I may have seen that on a sign or something.
I think Pee Wee is also probably true, although I haven't heard of it.
They all seem very much like they could be true.
True.
I think